Alright, Marhawkman here. So, for this one, this is a build that is heavily focused on ground exotic damage. Also, this is something of a theme build. Um, as you can see, this character is wearing the Jim Hadar set in more ways than one. This is actually a low-buy costume. I actually bought this way back when it was first added to the low-buy store, because at that point in time, the stuff wasn't upgradable. The only way to get the good version was to buy it in the low buy store. And I've had it ever since then on this character. Since I originally created this character as a Vorta. So I figured, hey, you know what, it fits. Anyways, because Vortas are a race where at least some of them are telekinetic, I decided to go with a character who has those traits. I'm not going with like the full like psionic damage set with this character, but I decided to go with something that's kind of, Dark Jedi themed. So while she has a rifle and those things, she also has a bunch of things that are kind of sort of like force powers. Kind of, sort of. Anyway, though. So, what are the actual abilities? And where to get them? Well, I got these out of the low-buy store. Nowadays, you can just do the mission reward and upgrade it to be this. So, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so one interesting thing here is, see these three lines here? This is actually one of my character traits. Yeah. This set actually has a special bonus of effect if you're using it on a science officer. At least if you have the medical vanguard trait. More on that later. Anyways, where do you get all of the kits? This is actually a standard generic kit module. You can actually craft one in R&D. This is a Lucari rep kit module. This is a Risa kit module. Winter event kit module. Okay, this one you would have to go to a little bit of creativity to find a replacement for this one, because while there are other things that are AoE damage stuff, and you could also, this is a universal one, so biochemist buffs don't apply to it, but this one, if you were to replace it with something that's a science kit module, there's options. Like, for example, a hyperonic radiation kit module or neutronic radiation. Thought I had that in here somewhere. Nope, that's not it. Or something else that's like a heal, maybe. This is a really, really useful item. Anyway, so I'm using this because it's a short cooldown, instant cast damage AoE. This is a Temporal Defense Initiative kit module that it has a short charge up, but it's one, pretty good damage, and two, it well, makes the enemies hold still, which is really, really good for when you're trying to stack abilities. Is that you don't want to use like use one of your damage abilities and then have the enemies just like run out of range, because they'll do that sometimes. They don't want to die. This though makes them run less. This also has a slowdown effect, and also since part of the reason why I went with the anti-time entanglement singularity, endothermic, and piezoelectric is that, as you can see, all of them have the tooltip for minus 40 all damage resistance, which is the biochemist duty officer effect. Well, I chose them specifically because since they're true science modules, even though they're non-standard science modules, all of them benefit from that. And also they have the chance of making your enemies hold still. Or weapons malfunction in this case. Also useful. Now, this one doesn't seem like it does a lot of damage. One thing to consider though is that 62.8 damage, that's every second. as an AoE. It's not gonna like instantly one-shot things, but it will make them suffer quite a lot. And then you can do something like this, which will hurt a lot. Even more so when you have the damage resistance bonus. Okay, so kit frame. This is a lockbox thing. There are many other options. You could actually make a very similar version of this build using the Risa kit frame, because I am actually using at least one of the Risa kit modules. You could put in one or two more Risa kit modules, because some of the Risa kit modules are actually tagged as true science abilities, and thus you could use the Risa kit frame to trigger the kit frame power. I'm using this one though because I'm using mostly non-Risa things, but a very similar build can be done using a Risa kits. Also, this kit frame, it has several stats that are useful, but since these have random stats, it's a real mixed bag as to which ones will help you. And anyway, good luck finding one that has a very high kit performance stat, because those tend to be expensive. Moving on. This is more of a theme thing. This build is actually something because of the fact that I'm using the biochemist thing. The damage resistance penalty from that applies to all weapon attacks and kit module effects. So literally anything that damages your enemy, this applies a minus 40 damage resistance rating to everything. So this, tag an enemy with that and then start wailing on them with this. Also, one thing to remember about this is that the quickening strike is in fact an AoE. It's a small cone in front of you. So if you have a small group of enemies, this will actually hit all of them. Let's see. Combat pet. Now, this applies a triple buff. I don't think this triggers the Medical Vanguard, and you can't use it in combat anyways. But the passive healing effect is useful. Yes, I know, a lot of people prefer crit chance bonuses, but I've had this one for a long time. Notice how it's blue. New ones aren't blue. Frosted Boots, it's not useful in combat, but getting to combat faster is nice. This, Medical Vanguard. Notice how this tooltip is longer than normal. A lot longer than normal. This benefits from the Medical Vanguard character trait. And the Nurse Duty Officers. Yeah, that makes it a lot more powerful. And it's a story mission item that you can get just by playing a story mission. Good item. Especially for a build that uses Medical Vanguard. Which I only have one proper heal kit module, but I actually have 3 heal abilities that trigger it. The set bonus from the Jem'Hadar set, which I can only use on myself. This, which the Medical Vanguard effect gets applied when you activate the module, not when the heal effect of the module triggers. So you have to target someone when you want to apply the effect, which is a bit iffy. Especially since you need line of sight of the ally you want to target at the time you want to target them, and they may or may not actually have line of sight to them. Okay, so what else do I have? Talked about these guys. Biologist. This makes tricorder scan last longer. Usually you don't need to, but it's a thing that does stuff. This is actually a pretty hefty damage resistance penalty to your enemies, so it's useful, and it stacks with this. Okay, Elder Malak 10, Jem'Hadar recruitment event. reward. Um, One of the best duty officers you can have in the game, because the fact that he gives you bonus damage just because you have him slotted, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. Science officer, tactical officer, heck, you can be an engineer who uses the psionic powers from the winter event. He still gives you bonus damage. Great stuff. Tindy uh, kind of works the same as I mentioned with the medical vanguard. It's a sometimes gives you a small recharge bonus when you activate a heal ability. Note how I said activate, and it only seems to apply to kit powers because you don't see Tindy's effect in the description of Pavan Healing Crystal, but you do see it in the tooltip for Nanite Health Monitor. It's the paragraph at the bottom, where it's which anyway. Wait, no, actually, it's not the second paragraph. It's the second from bottom, not the bottom. Anyway, though, it's not a huge cooldown, but you can have it happen once every 5 seconds. So a small cooldown that happens repeatedly can be useful. Alright, so more on the traits. Most of these are things that are kit module related because of the fact that this build uses kit modules for most of the damage. You have a weapon that you fire, and you can do the whole stabby death thing, at least with the secondary weapon of my choice. However, AoE damage is where your main source of damage is. This, aggressive, gives you bonus to all damage. Kits, damage dealing traits even. It gives you a bonus. Kit performance, we like it. Field researcher. This means that when I apply something like endothermic conduction field to my opponent and I have a slow effect applied to them, that slow effect means that I now get 25% bonus damage, which really, really stacks when you consider the other damage resistance penalties that I'm using. Kit technician, of course. The R&D trait for bonus kit stuff. Yeah, I don't have it yet because this is only level 14. It would be extremely good for this build though. The kit R&D trait would be great, and something that might replace resilient with it because that's kind of filler anyways. These are things that are more themed than essential for the build. Thing is though, this is that I was saying about the whole field researcher thing. It actually benefits this, which okay, it's something that doesn't trigger all that often, but the amount of damage it does is noticeable, and it's a passive thing that applies anytime someone attacks you. Granted, each specific enemy cannot be targeted for 30 seconds. Each specific enemy. So, if there's a group of enemies and all 4 of them are shooting at you, each of them can be targeted once per 30 seconds, which, since it's a small AoE, you might actually hit them multiple times. If it triggers that often, which it might not. Telekinesis. Psionic trait that it's not great, not terrible either. You could probably find things that did better damage. This is a character that doesn't have much in the way of... I don't think I have any lockbox traits on this character. Looking at it again. Anyway, Medical Vanguard. Mentioned this several times. Gives you a small shield regeneration, a shield resistance bonus, and it prevents you from having a shield bleed through for a few seconds. This isn't a very long bonus. However, since you're probably going to trigger it while being shot at, this is a pretty nice bonus so that you take a lot less damage for a short period of time, and thus it will give you a chance to heal yourself without, having the enemies just do so much damage to you that you die anyways. So, useful. Let's see, detective field researcher, penetrating rounds. Yeah, I think that's it. Obviously, there are a lot of things you could do with this, because this is like mostly just like bare basic stuff. And that's about it for this build. See, because the trick with this build is that, well, part of the reason why I chose these is because of just how short the cooldowns on these particular kit modules are. Yeah, I forgot to mention that specifically. 16-second recharge, 13.3. This is a long recharge, so you're probably only going to want to use that on the really big enemies. And 16.7-second recharge. If you use them carefully, you almost don't run out of kit's powers at all. You could use a Mud's time thing and replace one of the damaging things with that. It would work. Alrighty then. Well, that's that. I hope you guys found this interesting, entertaining, or informative. One of the two, or both. Whatever. See you guys later.